Hey, it's Chris Leisure Games. Do you like talking Kickstarters? Do you like talking board games? Well, you tuned into the right place because I'm going to talk about everything new that is coming out on crowdfunding this week. And there's a lot of stuff that's funding, and there's a lot of stuff that's doing well. And I don't mean that in the six-figure sense, I mean that in the indie sense. So let's do this, right? Let's get right into it. Smash the like button, let YouTube know, hitting all of the games that you need to see. Let's do this. First up, we're going to talk about two that are going in completely different opposite directions here, but they're both things that you need to be aware of. One, Far Cry Beyond launched and it canceled. Literally canceled before most of the other ones on Big Tuesday launched. Why? Well, it only got $30,000 in the first day, and they said, well, we need $100,000 total, and the momentum wasn't there, and so they said, well, we're going to relaunch and rethink it over. Now, if you go to the update there, where they address some of the questions or the concerns, is they said, we wanted to make a spin-off. We wanted to do something completely different with a few Easter eggs and a few nods to the Far Cry universe. Again, I'm not a big fan of Far Cry by any means. I don't know anything about really the IP itself, but from people commenting that were familiar with it, they were saying this really wasn't reminiscent of Far Cry. And now, simultaneous co-op play? I don't know. Is that working? I don't know. Now, you even have videos that are gone private. That's kind of weird, even though the campaign is, over. So, miniature-based, price point was, again, it's not inconsiderable, 115 euros as an intro price point. I mean, we're seeing that all the time. So miniature-based isn't so much. Even 230 as an all-in with 2 expansions. That's still nearly 60 euros an expansion, though. That is an expensive, spicy meatball expansion. And so that would be my concerning issue. Now, again, a lot of information, a lot of cards here. What's going to be different? Why is it going to be different? The 80s aesthetic is okay. I guess I would wonder why the $100,000 goal. How much do you need to recoup in order to pay Ubisoft, essentially, for it? Now, again, campaign, co-op, simultaneous play, 2 expansions that can be played as well in that order. Again, I didn't get a good grasp of the page while it was up here in terms of what it's offering and why it's different. And they even had stretch goals here at 150 and 200, which... That's super ambitious. That's putting the cart before the horse there, if you will. Now, again, you finally get down here and you can see a little bit of what they're doing. Tactical shooter board game? Okay. Open world? Okay. Rounds? But simultaneous play? Okay. Now, the only stuff was Dice Tower and Quackalope, really. And whatever else was here has gone private, so I don't know what those other ones were. A couple of foreign language ones as well, I think French. But that's it. That's it. There really wasn't too much to base it off of, and they didn't like what they got, so they canceled. And that's good in a sense that people voted with their wallets that, hey, they weren't happy with this, and hey, they're going to go back to the drawing board. So I don't wish ill will upon them, but especially with these video game IPs, we gotta be picky and choosy. It has to be a very, 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 very solid game first. IP second. Speaking of IPs, though, let's talk about this. IP, Dragonballz Z, Smash Battle of the Miniatures game. Yeah, Chris, why the heck are you talking about this one at the beginning? Well, what's important here is Kids Logic Co. Limited. What's also important here is they raised almost $23,000, you can see right here. What's more interesting is the point that's underneath that. Last update, January 15, not 2022, folks, 2021. Awesome, cool looking miniatures. I remember this. I remember looking at this and going, hey, you really have the IP approved? Bandai has not really been, too much spreading that IP around. And so, again, this is not a pledging project. This is a confirmed project. 100% from each person serves as a deposit. Sales will be confirmed, officially licensed by Toei Animation. Last update. Backers only, but a year and a half ago. Why am I talking about this? Wow. It's a lost project. Chris, you love talking about this project. Oh, I do, but this is also a little bit different. Because, now, what does Robotech have to do with Dragonballz Z, Chris? That's weird. And Chris, this has got $80,000. That's already 4 times the amount almost of the other project in less than 24 hours. Well then, Minitech Games. Minitech Games. First created, 0 backed. Interesting. Now again, They have their own website you can go to. They have their own Facebook page. But some interesting comments have been raised here in the comment section. That you go down here. Miniatures themselves, again, they have some, retail supply, retail availability. So again, that's not an unknown. But the issue is several keen eyes have said that this creator is a subsidiary or a brand team of the previously mentioned Kids Logic. Separate Kickstarter account that they've kind of abandoned. And so I don't know if that's true, but especially as one of the other backers says up here is Robotech does not have the most illustrious crowdfunding campaign record in history. So especially with the price point that this is, as sort of a skirmish X-Wing style of game, miniature-wise, that makes me a little nervous. If you're even being associated with that, 0 updates in the first 24 hours, and 76 comments total, none of which by the creators, to even address those. Like, if I had a project like that, and that was being, like, told something like that, if that wasn't true, I would be all over that right away and be like, this is completely untrue, unfounded, And so, again, I think it's something to be aware of. I don't know. We're going to see where this goes. Now, again, this one, way funded. Unlike Far Cry, funded. So what's going to happen the next 20 days? It's going to be a really interesting ride. That's all I'm going to say about it, though. Let's go to the other stuff now. The other stuff I'm most excited about. Dark Quarter, well on its way to $250,000 in the first 24 hours. The question that is always going to be on people's minds, Lucky Duck Games, why am I going to get this now? Well, they're including a free relatively large-sized expansion. Standalone, I don't know if it's standalone, we'll get there, but a relatively $30 to $40 expansion that's going to be included. So that is a better price. I mean, again, they don't do a lot of exclusives, but they're just giving you a better deal. They're going the Leader Games, Garfield Games route where you're just going to get a better deal at this point in time. Now, again, I'll put my video in the link above if you want to click on that. This is Dark Noir New Orleans in the 1900s. And it's got mystic, voodoo, magic appeal. And it's dark. It's got an M for mature for a reason. You are one of a PI agencies going after, trying to solve what are known as the Congo murders through a 4-scenario situation in the base game as one of 4 characters from 1 to 4 players. The app integration is there. It's easy to access. The question is, is it for you? It's a 1.5 versions of Destinies for me, if you're familiar with Destinies. If this appeals to you more, it's a better version, essentially, because it's also cooperative, and there's interwoven stories, individual storylines that you're going to be doing, as well as upgrading your characters between the scenarios. So, again, I'd go higher than 16 plus, personally. I don't think I'd want my 16-year-old necessarily doing this, but that's me personally after having played it. Again, free exclusive expansion, €35 value, they say here. Standalone prequel story. There you go, standalone. I wasn't sure. And they have also said that the miniatures, if you're concerned about they're going to pledge lock a whole bunch of miniatures that you don't want as an extra cost, well, they're not doing that. So you can get them separately. And so the base pledge here is going to be $65. And that's going to get you both of these free expansions, it says right here, the Yesterday Demon and the Other Stories expansion. So, again, how do you feel about that? And again, the other $103 pledge is going to get you an additional expansion. And then that's still an expensive expansion, though. That's still a $40 expansion, essentially. And then the whole thing is going to get you all the deluxeified stuff. So again, like I said, the plastic tokens, the deluxe miniature upgrades, all of it. Again, that's all you need to know. There's plenty of videos on here. My videos on this page. Develop your character. They use the Destiny system in terms of rolling. And in order to get a success, your total number on your dice has to be greater than the cubes on your board. For each one it is greater than or equal to, that's the number of successes you have. There's ways to mitigate. There's upgrades that mitigate. There's items that mitigate. And it uses a Chronicles of Crime system in terms of the integration on the app and the characters and the NPCs and the locations. So again, check out my video if you want this in a more verbose discussion, about 12-minute, 15-minute video of my thoughts on it as a whole. But it's a solid game if you were interested in Destinies but didn't like the competitive nature, or you're looking for something slightly upgradable in terms of what's there. This is a solid hit. I have no doubt that people are going to like this. It's just going to be whether or not this is right for you. It's easy to get to the table. There you go. DC deck building. 10th anniversary. 200 grand in the first day. Cryptozoic striking while the iron's hot here. And they've done something different here that I wasn't expecting. Now, they've got 2 separate games plus a big box, essentially, what this is. The Rivals game, which is a 2-player head-to-head Reverse Flash versus Flash, and then they've got the Injustice League, but they're playing on the multiverse, and they're giving multiverse versions of games of the previous expansions of DC deck building, only they're giving to you potentially at very good prices. Now, how good? Well, we'll get down there in a second. But 10 years out, again, the question with a lot of these games, and the biggest criticism is it's a not as thematic, because you can give, good guy stuff to bad guy stuff and bad guy stuff to good guys, and you can have bad guys and good guys on the same team, and how you recruit them doesn't really matter, and it's less thematic in that sense. So, take that for what you will. There's also a little bit of a runaway leader issue sometimes, but some of the later expansions, especially some of these other ones, have done a little bit more. Now, the interesting thing that they're doing here is that they're giving you copies of these games that you can buy at a reduced price with no box. How do you feel about that, right? Especially as someone who has bought tons of games and expansions, sometimes do you keep your expansion boxes? Do you trash them? Do you combine it all into one? What do you do with those? And so for an interesting price point, they're giving you that option. Now, again, for the example here, Dark Knight Metal is $25 on here. And so I went over to Board Game Oracle and I checked this out and I said, okay, what does that do on Board Game Oracle, as you can see right here? And if you go down here, you can see that the lowest price point is Tabletop Merchant, which is a flat rate of $12 shipping, is still $25. Weight-based shipping, back order. Miniature Market, it's going to be $6. It's going to cost you $34. So that is a potentially pretty decent deal if you're going to go large bundle on this. The only other, significant way to get it, I guess, at a slightly cheaper price is going to be if you buy someone else's collection, which again tend to be hit or miss. And are you going to get all the ones you want, as opposed to being able to pick and choose here? But that's essentially what they're offering here. I don't think that's anything else new. Now, the weird thing is you can buy like the separate rule books. They're offering all 6 rule books for $15 as well. But again, here you go. The multiverse box, they're going to have an exclusive supervillain sheet cover exclusive that goes over it. There you go, cover. And it's cool looking. But if that's the only exclusive that's going to be on here, I'm, better off waiting, essentially. But again, I think it's a cool concept. I just wish I liked the gameplay actually a little bit more. And maybe one of you guys can convince me in the comment section, like I should be getting this over like Marvel Legendary or something else like Aeon's End. Here you go as well. That's the other thing that's included in the big box is the Multiverse Crossover Pack. So fans first, they talked about a bunch of pictures there, a bunch of videos of random expansions and games. And then again, $70 for it all, $135 for everything, including these playmats and the big box. Everything is going to cost you a bunch. And if you want to get all the stuff on here, it's $350. But again, here are these 6 expansions. Now, again, they're calling them the Multiverse Edition expansions, which essentially I believe is just, again, without the box, unless I'm missing it. Now, again, here are some unlocks that they're already hitting, and they're already hitting a bunch of them. And they've got a couple Kickstarter exclusives here, so I guess that's maybe the other reason to get them. I mean, I essentially think of them as promos. So how different are these promos going to be? And they're, interestingly enough, separating them out. This one is Injustice, this one is Rivals, Injustice, Rivals. So take that for what you will. Here are the prices for the other ones. So if you just want Injustice, if you just want Rivals, if you just want a few of these others, you can get them all separately as well. So, there's Teen Titans, for example. And so again, if you go to Board Game Oracle here, again, Teen Titans is being offered $25 on the campaign. The lowest one here you can see in stock is going to be $28 plus $12 shipping, or potentially $29, $30 plus shipping is still going to cost you significantly more. So, normally I would say that these tend not to be a better deal, but clearly, you can look up the rules online, right? And see, here's what I'm talking about. The rule books right here if you want them. But it's actually a surprisingly good deal. I am shocked that Cryptozoic is doing this. And I think that's why people are really attracted to it. And that's why it's got $200,000 in the first day. So that's really impressive. Check it out if you're interested. Next up, finally, Iconoclash launches from Strange Machine Games. And they're almost funded in the first 24 hours. Just under $1,000 before they fund. So they will be funded probably by the time this goes another 24 hours, another 8 hours even. So again, great to see it. I'm going to be heavily invested looking at this one. I have read through most of the rulebook at this point, and I need to see a little bit more. I'm going to watch some of the videos, but it's basically trying to emulate the classic cult hit of Super Smash Brothers done in a board game. And it's giving you different boards. It's giving you different items, different characters with asymmetric powers and how you're going to use them. And you have a certain number of actions on your turn. And then when you do hit people, it takes away their life points, sort of like a King of Tokyo version, if you will. But even if you fall off, that's probably the one main difference, is you only lose health points. It doesn't knock you out. When your hit points are down, then you get knocked out, but there's a time limit. So then at the end of the time limit, if nobody is, the last one standing, then the person with the most health wins. 4 different boxes, 4 different expansions. They're going to cost you a total of $80 for the whole thing. Now they say save $90 there. So, I mean, that's a $40, $45 expansion or standalone box each, which is expensive because I view this almost more like Exceed, the cross compatible level 99 that they're doing, because there is level 99 going on with this. Now, again, drops are going to happen. The movement is going to be there, and the movement is something that's slightly different as well. It's move in any direction, but there's going to be terrain on the maps that's either going to block you, damage you, or just get in your way. And you can't end up in the same space as somebody else. The drops are going to end up randomly distributed, but going to them is how you're going to collect them, but you don't actually collect what's on the map, then you're drawing from a deck. So how do you feel about that? I am really, really interested in this one. This one is going to be a hard one for me not to trial out. It is. Especially, like I said here, here's the level 99 crossover. So, Bullet, Millennium Blades, 7th Cross, and Battlecon. Almost want to get it just for the 7th Cross, because 7th Cross, rest in peace, moment of silence. Although we hope to see it at some day in the future still. Again, I'm interested in this one. I'm going to be heavily, heavily watching this one between now and the end. There's not a whole lot of content out for it. Roll for Crit and Unfiltered Gamer have some. But that's about it. Now, you can do it on Tabletop Simulator, and I know people have been doing it on Tabletop Simulator for a while. So this is not something that's just like fresh off the boat that no one's done. Rulebook is out there as well, which is good, because the next campaign I'm going to talk about is not having the rulebook out, which is a little bit disappointing because I'm seriously interested in the next one as well. Again, here you go. Everything, but you get to design an item here at the $180 pledge level, or the costume, or your phone fighter. So if you want to pay $3,000 to get your own fighter, man, more power to you. There you go. Again, super interested in this one. I really am going to give this one a hard look-see, and this was going to be one that it's going to be hard for me to pass on, to be very frank with you guys. So, again, I've already got it saved. I'm going to be looking at more of the video and the rule book. Again, second glance over later this week. So, there you go. Iconoclash. Next up, we have the Paradox Initiative. And again, I didn't think this one was going to blow it out of the water from Elf Creek Games, sort of like Merchants of the Dark Road. But it's slowly trickling towards a funding goal here. Probably just going to hit it within 24 hours. $25,000 of $30,000 in the first day so far. But I am super interested in this. Now, the problem, like I said, is that there's no rulebook out, which is weird to me. Elf Creek Games, you know better. You know you should have a rulebook on day one. Come on now. Come on. So that would be my main criticism right now. But the mechanisms that they have going on, and they responded it to in the comment section. They're like, well, just go watch one of the videos by your creators. Well, that's fine, but sometimes I just want to see the actual rulebook. That was my big problem with Casting Shadows, right? What the rulebook and how the actual gameplay interactions differ is the make it or break it oftentimes in these games, because I mean, it looks like a really solid game. It's a reimplementation of the original Paradox from, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago. So the gameplay is, there, but I want to see how it interacts, how the dynamics are. And I need to have both of those aspects for me to really fully evaluate it. Now, like it said, like I talked about last week, you are mad scientists. You're competing to claim strands of space-time from across the multiverse. Whoever can do it the most efficiently is gonna win. But when you do grab those things, there's gonna be collapsing wormholes. Standard edition, deluxe edition, as I predicted, as I figured with all of these types of games. Now, again, the question is, do you need the upgrades? Because the promos are going to be at both editions. So how many promos? What are the promos going to entail? Because, again, there have been a few standard editions with the promos included that have definitely been worthwhile picking up on crowdfunding as opposed to waiting. I'm looking at you, Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. Again, I think you're getting chips instead of cardboard tokens here. I think if we scroll down, we'll see it. Yep, here we go. Clay Composite Paradox Particle Tokens. That's a tongue twister. Say that 5 times fast. Again, $39 versus $69 though. And that's the question is, are the deluxe upgrades worth it $30 for you? Again, 4 playmats. And I guess this is the weirdest thing I've seen on crowdfunding though today, is that if you want to get 18 playmats, it's going to cost you an additional $200. 18 playmats and 5 storage boxes, $200. Like, You may like the art on this, and I've seen a lot of people commenting that they want to be able to get all like the art that they want, and I believe they allow you to like pick and choose down below. But $200 just for playmats and boxes, folks. That's the level of deluxeification now we're running into on crowdfunding. I'll put that out there. Again, more promos are going to be slowly unlocked that are going to extend gameplay, new ways to play. Again, here you go. They talk about them. They're $15 each, though. And the box themselves, they're not even including, if you buy a couple playmats, you have to buy the box separately. And I don't really like that. I'll put that out there. I don't really like that. I understand it, but it is what it is. Now, the general gist of this game, though, like I talked about last week, draft cards or flip on your console in your player board in your Paradox engine, and you were given different options. Then you are swapping symbols in order to line up 4 or 5 of these tokens in a row. Playing tech cards is going to give you additional manipulation. Then you're going to be scoring based on more of a set collection aspect, followed by moving the board and what they call the glitch marker around. This is really the only one to kind of give you the best what's what. Before you play, here you go, the Kickstarter tutorial. Again, the unlocks, the art, it's all going to be revealed slowly as the campaign goes. Dice Tower Live Play, Dice Tower, and Rondo. So take that for what you will. Again, not as much information on the page, especially with the lack of the rulebook. So I'm a little disappointed in that. I am very interested in this game, though. I was really intrigued when I read the synopsis a week and a half ago, and I'm even more interested. I don't care how well it funds or how many promos or anything, but I want to see the rulebook, and that's going to be the big maker to break it for me probably, but there is Paradox Initiative. Next up, Sayu. Again, you know me, I love talking about these. These are the small indies. This is by the same designer who did Eero. And so if you have any interest in that, you should be checking out this one because you are a 2-player abstract, arrow manipulating, tile flipping, Go Othello-esque game. And again, already almost funded in the first 24 hours at a very respectable $4,000. And there's no doubt that this is going to fund either. I'm intrigued by this, and the only question is, do I have enough room for enough 2-player abstracts in my collection? Because the price point is fine. The price point's $25. Basically what you're doing is you're laying these down to create a 7x7 grid. And so when you lay it down, the orientation of the white arrow has to be different than the one that is next to it. And so then using one of the 3 arrows on your own piece on the outside, you flip one of those pieces that touches that. The person who has the most pieces flipped up at the end wins. That's it. That's all you need to know. Again, goes through it right here. You actually get a good sense of how you're actually playing on this page, which again, works great. Play it on Tabletop Simulator. You can get Eero, as I mentioned right here, which is a very solid, much deeper, thinkier game than I was expecting from an abstract standpoint. And that's it. That's all you need to know. Cut, dry, simple. It's going to fund. It's good. Check it out. Now, if you had told me that Escape from Stalingrad, Zombies, Miniatures, World War II was going to do more than Far Cry Beyond last week, I would have given you quite the skeptical look. But here we are, right? This has 70,000 and the other is canceled. So what are you doing in this sort of zombie-esque World War II setting, a la similar to Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, in the sense that you've got the hex-based grid map with more of a narrative campaign? Again, 20 to 40 minutes per play in each scenario, and they call it making more of a move your own adventure here. Player count, solo, AI, 2-player. You can play co-op or versus, though. Interesting. I wasn't expecting to see a versus on this page, but there you go. Probably the biggest upside of this game, if this is true of what they're saying here, is it's more in line with the zombie side-esque things rather than the Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, because again, you've got the 3 different modes, but you've got the 1-minute setup, right? Compact area, narrative campaign, book set. And again, that's $36. That's a lot less than I was expecting. That's standees. Now again, you can get a whole lot more here with the box set, and then you can even deluxeify it if you want. And that, boy howdy, is that a big jump, right? 60 Canadian dollars, 50 US dollars to 179. That's $120. So I would imagine that some people are actually getting that, because otherwise I doubt you'd have $70,000 in the first day. So yeah, you have a fair number of people down here, a couple hundred. Only 100 available of the Zombie Master here, and that's $500. Anyway, take that for what you will. So those lower price points with the standees, I think that looks great. But here you go. You've got additional add-ons of heroes, zombies, advanced zombies, boss zombies. How much of that stuff do you need, though? I kind of worry about that. Like, if you're already including that many expansions, maybe that's why the price point is initially null in the core game. Does the core game have enough? That'd be my only concern. Free PDF of the rulebook and 5 scenarios. That's awesome that it's out there, so you can check it out. Achievements, stretch goals every day. They're going to be doing some sort of social goals, it looks like, for a lot of this stuff. And again, there you go. More scenarios, more scenarios, more stuff. Okay. Completely out of nowhere. I mean, I knew it was launching, but if you had told me this was probably going to break 100,000 in the first week, I would have been surprised, but they're killing it. So there you go. Escape from Stalingrad Z. Next up, Birds of a Feather. 50% funded in the first day. Western North America version. And there's original Birds of the Feather. And this is more of a tableau building point scoring game with a little bit of card drafting as well. So you're looking out for birds, you're putting them in different habitats, and then you're scoring points based on how many birds in each habitat. So again, it's kind of cool looking. Again, how does it differ than other tableaus? That'd be the main question. I mean, the price point seems okay, $20. So they give you a little bit of a rundown right here. How to play. You play a bird. You play a habitat. Oh, raptor bird is revealed. Other stuff gets chased away. Then you score based on the birds in the tableau that you visited. And then you rinse and repeat. Again, there's enough on here that you really don't need much more of an explanation. The art is great. And it looks like a true, matching environment. Again, do you have space in your collection for this? Are you a big fan of animal-based games? That's what you need to check out. I mean, there's not a whole lot else that you need to know. I mean, there's a whole bunch of videos, a whole bunch of quotes down here. You can check those out, but that's the gist of it. It's a lighter tableau-style set collection-esque game. Solid, though. Again, 50% funded in the first day. I'd be shocked if this doesn't continue to fund and be probably well-funded or near funding by the time this video airs. There you go. Next up, Don't Let It Die. Reimagining, reprint, beautification of this game. Co-op survival in the prehistoric age where you are trying to stay atop of the food chain and, learn the mystery of fire. So 3 times the funding goal already, $15,000. Let's see what we got going on here. Again, this is not a game that is being new completely. Tabletop simulator, refreshed art. So it's not really an unknown. It's re-releasing a brand new version. So again, 1 to 4 players, cooperative, 16 different characters. Choose your way to victory. How are you going to forage, cook, craft, and burn? $39. Again, why am I getting on crowdfunding? I mean, probably support the publisher at this point. You can see the characters here. And when I see this many characters, my concern is always how different are these? And most of these stats seem somewhat similar, but also you can see some abilities down here, especially at the bottom ones. So if they've got a little bit more asymmetry there, I'm definitely intrigued. I'm going to have to watch some gameplay and check out the rulebook here for this one because, you know me, I'm a big fan of hard co-ops. And so what is it going to look like from that aspect? Now, they've got stretch goals here. They've got the rulebook here as well. And so here's the rulebook for Don't Let It Die. And it seems to be relatively compact, relatively straightforward in terms of a co-op game. You're getting several different actions in which you can do during the day phase, and you're also going up against a night phase where either obstacles or benefits are going to happen to you. You have essentially 14 days because you have to have the Secret of Fire unlocked by day 15 in order to win. At the beginning of every day, you're losing a wood. That's sort of your mechanism. So if you lose all the wood in the fire goes out. So then you also lose. And then if all of your characters are knocked out by predators, you can also lose. So these are the things you're doing here. Forage, gather, cook, trade, eat, investigate, or craft. So again, everything. Here's the night phase. There you go. It's doing great. 4 times the funding goal already. And just how different is it? How different is it in terms of some of those mechanics? And that's why I'd say if you're interested at all from a co-op side of things, I think you probably should check it out online because I believe they have it on Tabletop Simulator, like they said. And then again, the aspects and the asymmetry between the different paths and the characters. It gives it a good touch there. So check it out if you're interested. Now, you didn't think I was actually going to forget about GameFound, did you, here at the end? Now, 2 projects on GameFound, both of which I find really intriguing. This is for Northwood, the solo trick-taking style game. Hey, whoa, there's me. I did not actually plan it that way. I just randomly scrolled up and it's scrolling through. But it's got $20,000. This is an excellent game if you have any interest in trick-taking or solo games. I'll put it out there. It's good. It works really well. It won several awards on Board Game Geek as one of the best solo games and one of the best games for the 54-card game, contest that they do on a yearly basis. $15, and it's got $20,000 raised. So 1,000 people backing it, which is pretty incredible. all things considered. Now, I think some of the other rewards are a little higher, like $25 here, and they have some of the other stuff, but again, I don't imagine a lot of the money is coming from the add-ons either. Maybe it is. Black Sonata. Makis is also in and out of points. So again, just solid games though. If you know the pedigrees of either of those, people really highly think of those, especially Makis as a solo, I think, worker placement. And Black Sonata just has a good pedigree. I don't know if that's solo as well. I'm not as familiar. I'm just peripherally adjacently familiar. But essentially, you have these different fiefdoms from 0 to 7 in terms of the number of tricks you have to win. You choose one of them, so that's how many tricks you're going to try to win. And there is a ruler of that fiefdom that affects how the game is played that round. You have 4 different cards of your own that can affect or mitigate some of the choices or the hand or even the trump that you're presented with in order to win the set number of tricks you need to based on the fiefdom you're going up against. And you start out with 8 cards in your hand. I say start out because you can draw more, you can discard some. And so it's not on how many tricks you play, it's on how many tricks you win. So again, super solid game. I was really surprised by this one. Again, like I said, for $15, it reminds me of the one I talked about last week, the under the radar indie game, An Empty Throne. Only that's for 2-player. This is for 1-player. Again, completely different games in and of themselves, but this is why you crowdfund. Boom, right here. There you go. For Northwood, Side Room Games. Check it out. The other one, Japanime, Blade Rondo. Killing it. 48,000. I think this is a lot more than several of their last campaigns, because I think they've had 2 on GameFound in the past year or so since it launched, and they're doing really, really well. Now, the weird thing about this, and I didn't realize this, and this is an all-in right here, a deluxe for $125. So that's the deluxe buy-in, but you're buying these different sets, and each of them has, I think, I don't know, do they say 2 characters in them? Because you end up with 40 cards, and from those 40 cards, you get 15, and from those 15, you use 7 of them to go against your opponent. You can see with the following effects, and the costs, and the powers. So again, 2,000 is a lot. I mean, how many people are backing right now? 371. So you're not going to sell out of the 2,000 here probably. And again, is it going to be a collector's edition is really the difference. Some alternates. I was saying alternate alt. I was like, okay, good job, genius. Alternate, I believe, promo-ish cards, like just different art on them essentially is some of the stuff. So like I said, 15 cards, do 7 from your 40 card deck, playing these cards face down, ready to respond to opponent's attacks. And then the second player has these cards that are going to be able to mitigate and use to, you know, affect the battles themselves. So whoever reduces their opponent's life point to 0 is the winner. They go through the card breakdown here. The art is beautiful. I have one of the previous Domina anthology games. I just wasn't ever fully enamored with it. And I like this already because the text on the other Domina game I have was just almost unreadable from any sort of distance. Now it says it's a 28-page rulebook, but when you look at the actual pages of the rulebook here, there's much less on them than, 28 pages may actually indicate. Attribute dice that's going to track your attack. It's going to track your voltage, which is, a meter of cost, and then your defense. So the card controls that you're going to be using, the enkindle and an armor. And so it gives you all of the summary, the breakdown here. All of this is linkable from the page itself, as well as the different decks that they're going to be offering. Because like I said, there's about 5 different decks, and they're each $20. And just with the card disciplines here, as you can see, the different types of cards, physical, magical, assist, gambit, and breath control. Again, just enough there, but probably not too much there, even with all of this other stuff. These are all keywords, so none of those are difficult at all from that aspect. Breaks it down, gives you a few examples, everything you need to know. So what are we actually talking about here, though? Because there's very little information. Only One Stop Co-op Shop in English has a review or a, actually how it's playing. Again, like I said, the limited edition collectors is $125, but any one game is $20. 2 games, again, which is kind of weird. Why would I bundle 2 games for $40 if I can get one for $20, right? What's the difference between those pledge levels? Absolutely nothing, I guess, from that aspect. And you can get them all, they're all $20 each, essentially, otherwise. Now, I must be wrong somewhere I don't know where I got the number 40 from. Maybe it was the Board Game Geek page. But when you pull up each of these individual games here, they all have anywhere between 60 and 65 cards total. So I'm assuming that's like 2 decks in there. Maybe it's 30. You know what? It's probably 30. That makes a lot more sense. 30, because then some of these cards, obviously, in like the base game here are 65 total. So you've got 5 either extra cards of, rules or player aids or something like that. And then the rest of these are all 60, 61, 62, 63 from that side of things as well. Playmats, everything else you're going to get deluxeified. Here's one of the previous sets of anthologies from the Domina series. And they've got, again, here are the stretch goals, the alternative art cards. So my only question would be, if this is $20 now, again, with little to no exclusives, do I wait? I mean, I like this game. I like the idea of this game. This is my game type ilk. You know, this is Exceed Sakura Arms in a different manner. So I'm super interested in this, and I'm going to have this one sort of watching down to the wire. I'm going to read the full rulebook later and watch One Stop Co-op Shop's video. So there you go. That's it. That's the roundup for this week. Everything you need to know, all the new stuff, and everything else in between. Next week, on the 19th, that Tuesday Kickstarter, it's going to be a big one. It's going to have a lot of bigger names. But again, this week, a lot of solid stuff funding. That's the cool thing about this, is you can get one of these small games and be just as happy and, you know, just as fulfilled as if you were looking at one of the bigger ones. And I am always completely okay with that. That's why I cover as many as I can for you guys. That's all I got. Smash the like button. Let YouTube know. Subscribe if you're not. I'll see you around. Stay classy. Have a great day. I'm coaching my kids' soccer league. Both of my kids' teams. Because no one else volunteered. Had the first practice this week with the 8-year-old. He's like one of the oldest kids on the team, because it's like kids in 1st and 2nd grade. He probably should have had him up on the higher one, but a bunch of his friends are on the team too. Utter chaos wrangling cats here, folks. Wrangling cats with balls on a muddy soccer field. I'm lucky I even have a voice. At least the kindergartner, they don't have separate practice on a separate night. They just have practice half an hour before their game, and then they play a game of about half an hour. So those cats I can wrangle a little bit easier, but whew, it's going to be interesting. I got like 8 weeks of this. So every morning while you're watching the upcoming Kickstarter videos for the following week, that's where I'm going to be. Whew. It's going to be a ride, folks. It's going to be a ride. That's all I got. Some alternate alt